Colts! It's time for another Friday cooking activity, and this week, for the letter O, we're going to make oatmeal raisin cookies. Did you know that Mr. Trey's favorite cookie is oatmeal raisin cookies? So we want to make some oatmeal raisin cookies, but there's a lot of different ways to make cookies. We can make them crunchy or soft. We can make them thick or thin and spread out. We can make them kind of crispy around the edges or not. I wonder how Mr. Trey likes his cookies. Let's go give him a call.
Hi, Mr. Trey.
Hey, Miss Consuela. And hey, Colts.
Yeah, Colt, it's Mr. Trey. He's joining us to help us with our cooking activity today.
Mm-hmm.
So this week, we're making oatmeal raisin cookies for the letter O. And I seem to recall that it's your favorite type of cookie, right?
It is my favorite. I love oatmeal cookies.
Yes, there's so many different ways to make cookies, though. You can make them crunchy, or you can make them soft, or you can make them thick or really thin. How do you like them?
I prefer my cookies soft and thick. Those are the tastiest cookies.
Oh, I like them that way too. How do you make cookies really soft?
Colts, well, if you want your cookies to be soft, you want to make sure you add cornstarch to it.
Okay. And how do you make them thick and not really thin and spread out?
Well, thicker are the best. And to make your cookies thick, you want to make sure your dough is cold. If it's cold, it allows the butter to be firm and it'll melt slower.
Oh, okay. So if it melts more slowly, then the cookies won't spread out so far in the oven.
Correct.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you for sharing your cooking tips with us. We'll be sure to make the cookies how you like them.
Well, I'm pretty sure your cookies are going to turn out amazing because all your food turns out amazing. And I'm going to that makes me want to make cookies myself.
Ooh, exciting. Yay, Mr. Trey's making cookies too.
I cannot wait to see the cookies.
All right,
Bye. Colts. Mm-hmm.
All right, well, now we know how Mr. Trey likes his cookies, and we got a lot of really great cooking tips for how to make them thick and soft like he likes them. So I brought some cornstarch right here, and we're going to make sure to chill the dough, which means put it in the fridge and let it get really cold before we put it in the oven. So I didn't preheat my oven this time. Before, when we've baked things, we've preheated the oven so that we can get our mixture right in the oven right away. We're not doing that this time. So I left my oven alone for now. I'll preheat it later. Like when we make a lot of foods that have both dry and wet ingredients, we're going to mix the dry ones first and then the wet ones, and then we're going to put them together. Okay, so first our dry ingredients are flour, oats, baking soda, cornstarch, super important to make it soft, salt, cinnamon, nutmeg. And that's it. That's the dry ingredients right here. Now, I have a video about how to accurately measure flour, how to measure flour the right way. And we're going to learn about what compacted means and how you can make sure that you measure flour at home so that you get the right amount, so that it's accurate. So look out for that video later. So here we have our flour. And so I put flour in here, and now I'm going to add our oats. That's a lot of oats. It's actually more oats than flour. So we've got baking soda and cornstarch, salt, And our spices, cinnamon and nutmeg. When I measured out the cinnamon and nutmeg, normally you will get your measuring spoon and you'll make sure you sweep off the top so it's exactly the amount in there. But when I measure spices, I like to do heaping spoonfuls. That means you'll scoop it like that, and I don't make it flat because I like to add a little extra cinnamon and nutmeg. Don't go crazy on the nutmeg though, it's pretty strong. But cinnamon, yeah, go nuts. Okay, so I did heaping scoops of cinnamon, just so you guys know how much I added. Okay, so now we've got all of our dry ingredients in this dry ingredient bowl. And I am going to mix it with this wooden spoon. When I mix the wet ingredients in the dough, I'm going to use the hand mixer. But you know, you could use a wooden spoon and it'll turn out just fine. It just takes a little bit longer. So I'm going to go ahead and use a wooden spoon to mix this stuff up. Our baking soda and our cornstarch are ingredients that we really want to mix evenly throughout so that it's really well combined and consistent. I don't want little chunks of baking soda or little chunks of cornstarch here and there. I really want that to be consistent throughout the dough. Date bars. Remember when we made date bars in class? We had all of our oats, and we covered it in melted butter and sugar. Oh, it was so yummy. Well, for this ingredient, for this recipe, we're not going to use melted butter. Do you remember why? It's because Mr. Trey said that the butter should be cold. So we're not going to melt the butter in this recipe. Okay, I think that is good. It looks pretty consistent, right? I hope so. It's hard to tell the cornstarch and the baking soda apart from the flour, so I hope I got it right. I did my best. Okay, so now we're going to mix the wet ingredients. And we're going to start by creaming the butter and the sugar. That means we're just going to mix the butter and the sugar first. And then we'll add the other wet ingredients. My butter has been sitting at room temperature to get it soft. Not too melted, but soft. So the recipe I'm using for calls for light brown sugar, but I didn't have light brown sugar. All I had was dark brown sugar. I think it'll still taste okay. It just might be a little darker in color and maybe a little bit more richer in flavor. Let's get a good look at this brown sugar. I want to show you something. Do you see these little dark spots? That's where the brown sugar has kind of condensed and gotten a little bit dried out. If you have little spots like this in your brown sugar, that's okay. Sometimes it'll break apart when you start mixing it, and sometimes it won't. And if you bake your food with those little dark little spots, it's okay. It'll still taste pretty good. Actually, those little spots will taste like almost like candy. They'll be really sweet. So don't worry if you've got those. Sometimes if you have brown sugar in your cabinet for a while, those little spots develop and it's fine. Let's add my white sugar. Not so much white sugar. White sugar cooks faster than brown sugar, which means that would make your cookies start to get crispy. So if you like crispy cookies, add more white sugar than brown sugar. But Mr. Trey doesn't like crispy cookies, so we have more brown sugar than white sugar. Ready? Nice and creamy. Oops, a little bit fell off. That's good. Okay, now we're going to add more of our wet ingredients. That includes adding eggs. this recipe calls for 2 eggs and 1 egg yolk. How do you get an egg yolk without the egg white? I'll show you. Let's start with 1 egg. Two eggs. And now for the egg yolk. How I do this is to use the egg shells to help me separate it. But if you're not as experienced using eggshells, you can just use your fingers. Let me show you. Now, raw egg is not safe for you to eat. It has harmful bacteria in it that has to get cooked out in the oven. So when you get egg on your fingers, make sure you don't put it near your face. You gotta wash your hands. Okay, so here we go. I'm letting the egg white drip into the bowl, but I'm keeping that egg yolk. I'm gonna put it in my fingers. You see that? And now I'm just letting the egg whites flow through my fingers, and now I've just got 1 egg yolk in my hand. Cool, huh? Boop. All right, time to wash my hands. Ooh, that's not safe. All right, so you might be wondering why the recipe would call for 2 eggs and 1 egg yolk and not just ask for 3 eggs. Well, you might recall from when we've cooked before that eggs are a combining agent. It means it makes all of the other ingredients combine together like glue. That's what egg yolk does. Egg yolk is really good at combining. Egg whites are just kind of there. So for this recipe, the author of the recipe, the person who wrote it, didn't want the dough to be too runny with all of the egg whites, but they did want the egg yolks to help combine everything. So they said, just leave out the egg whites for one of the eggs. And that's what we did. They're right here. And we can save these egg whites for later. Some people like to scramble egg whites and eat them for breakfast without the egg yolk. They just like the egg whites. So maybe we'll try that. I'll save those for later. Okay, so now we're gonna add vanilla. Now you might be wondering if I added a whole lot extra vanilla from the recipe, and the answer is not really. I didn't add a lot because these cookies are not supposed to be vanilla-y type of cookies. They're more supposed to be spicy cookies. So I did add extra vanilla, but only a little bit, like half a teaspoon maybe. Okay. And now we have molasses. Not everyone has molasses at home. So if you don't have molasses, it's okay. We're only adding 1 teaspoon. If you don't have molasses, you could add a little bit extra brown sugar and maybe a little bit extra vanilla. But if you do have molasses, use it because it's gonna make it nice and dark and spicy. And it's gonna be really good with the raisins. Molasses is really sticky, so this is going to be kind of hard for me to measure. Okay, ready? I'm trying to hold the spoon straight. Oh, that was too much. Oh, that was too much molasses. Oh well, it'll still probably taste fine. Ooh, look at that. It's very thick and moves slowly. That means it's viscous. It has a high viscosity. So thick. Eggs are not as viscous, and water is even less viscous. It's really thin and it flows easily. But molasses is very viscous. I'm going to use my finger to help get it all out. You might be tempted to taste the molasses. Don't. It's not very good. I'm going to just wipe this finger off. Molasses adds flavor, but by itself, it's really not that good. Okay, got that in there. And now we're going to finish mixing our wet ingredients. Look at how the texture changed by just adding eggs in vanilla and molasses, it's so much wetter and runnier. Interesting, huh? Okay, now we're going to slowly add in the dry ingredients and be sure not to over mix it. If you mix and mix and mix, the dough will become dense and the cookies won't be quite as soft. So we're just gonna mix it until it's combined and then stop. Hey Robert. Actually, I'll wait for you, honey bunny. Lately, Robert's been doing a lot of his schoolwork and he's just so focused on doing that he doesn't really help with the cooking quite as much, which is okay. It's totally your choice if you want to make this or not. Some people just like to watch the videos because it's kind of fun to watch. Robert, are you ready? Okie dokie. Here you go.
Well, I will need your help, Mom.
Yes, of course.
Are those eggs and stuff?
There are eggs in here. Are you ready?
Yeah.
You got it. Go on, push that button. All right, it's mixed and I'm stopping. I'm not gonna over mix it or it will become too dense. You missed that, you're upstairs. Okay, our last and final step in our oatmeal raisin cookies are, what's missing? In the oatmeal raisin cookies, what's missing?
Oh, raisins.
Raisins! Okay.
Dad told me that, but, well, he didn't actually tell me that. He was like,
Oh, did he mouth the word raisins to you? Okay, now when we mix in the raisins, we're not going to use the hand blender. We're going to do something called folding. So we're not going to mix and mix and mix until they're completely consistent throughout the dough. Instead, no, dude, that's part of our recipe. We got some raisins over there. You can
they
snack
have
on.
more raisins.
I know. You go get those raisins if you want a snack. This is part of our recipe.
Okay.
I measured out the right amount of raisins, which was 1 cup, I think.
Let's start putting them in.
All right, dump them in.
Dump.
Go on, just dump them all in there. Okay, so now when we fold, we're going to act like we're folding a towel or folding a piece of paper. So we're not going to mix in circles, we're just going to fold. 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 Like this. See? So you are going to have parts of your dough where
Wait, that's like mixed with dough. Gross.
we're going to have parts of your dough where there aren't a lot of raisins and other parts where there's a ton of raisins. But that's okay. That's kind of the fun of oatmeal raisin cookies. You never know exactly what you're going to get in every bite. So, just going to fold, pick it up, and put it down. And I'm going to pick it up, and I'm going to put it down. I think that looks good. Okay.
I see.
Sure, come over here. You eating those raisins? That's fine. Raisins are a good snack. How does that look, Bunny? Are we good with them? Okay, good, good. So I'm gonna kind of put it in sort of a ball like this. Do you see how I'm scraping and I'm pushing, scraping and
Are you
pushing?
talking to me or
Not, I'm talking to anybody who will listen to me. All right, now, when you have it in a ball like that, it will, less of the dough is exposed to air, which means it won't dry out so much. But anyway, we're going to cover it in a wet paper towel.
and put it in the oven?
Can't. It has raw egg in it. I can't eat it. I want to, but I just can't do it. Okay.
Mom. Are we gonna put it in the oven?
No, Bunny, we're gonna put that in the fridge. I have this wet paper towel. I'm gonna put over the ball of dough, and I'm gonna put it in the fridge for maybe 2 hours, maybe a little less, at least 1 hour. My fridge gets really, really cold, so I'm probably gonna put it in less than other people whose fridges don't get quite as cold. So it's going to chill, which means the butter will get really firm. So when we put it in the oven, the cookies won't spread out so far, so that they'll be really thick, like Mr. Trey likes them. And when we chill ingredients with spices and molasses, those spices seem to really come out more. Like if you're making gingerbread cookies, some people will chill the dough for like a whole day before they even bake any,
Gingerbread
and it tastes
cookies?
really good.
You mean gingerbread men?
That too. Okay, so I'm gonna put this in the fridge, and I will see you in maybe an hour, a little more. Right. Okay. Hi, Colts.
I don't.
So it's been a little over an hour, and I got impatient, and I really wanted to start making my cookies. But look, our dough ball is so firm. Very firm. You do that. Yeah.
Not that firm.
Pretty firm. Okay, so we are going to form it into balls and put it on the cookie sheet, not too close, but it needs to be about 2 inches apart. I'm gonna get this little piece. It needs to be 2 tablespoons, that's probably close. to 2
Not
tablespoons.
that
And then form it into a little ball, and boom, right there. You gonna do it, Robert?
Okay.
Are your hands clean? When did you last wash your hands? Go do it. Go wash your hands if you want to do this. Okay, yeah, you see how they're not quite next to each other? They're a little bit apart. If you put your cookies too close together, whenever they cook in the oven, they might touch. So if you want perfectly round cookies, make sure you give them plenty of space. Me, I don't really care if they touch or not. It doesn't bother me that much. But I think this is enough space. I think this will be okay. Maybe I'll do a little bit more space.
Aw, you said I could do one.
You can. Come on, join me.
I am. Could have just waited.
Here, form that into a ball.
Ew. So icky.
It's sticky. What is making it sticky, Robert?
I don't know.
What ingredient did we add that could have made it sticky?
Play.
Clay?
Ew.
Oh, you didn't see what ingredients we added. No, it's got raw egg. Make this into a ball. Oh, look how sticky it is. The longer it's out of your fridge, the more the butter will melt. So you want to do this part kind of fast so that the butter stays really cold. And as soon as I'm done putting this tray in the oven, guess what I'm going to do with the rest of this cookie dough? I'm going to put it right back in the fridge so that the butter will stay firm. Okay. I'm just going to wipe my fingers off a little bit with this towel and put this in the oven. These in the oven. And I'm going to wait 10 minutes before I check in on them. I'm not going to check in on them before 10 minutes because every time you open the oven door, it lets the heat out. So once the cookies are done, I'll put them on that cooling rack, and then I'll get another batch in the oven. So let me put this cookie dough back in the fridge so that the butter stays firm. All right, I'll see you in 10 minutes. Bye. It's I think I might maybe 1 more minute. Yeah. Okay. I'll leave that on. All right, so that was about 11 minutes in the oven. They were pretty wet looking on top, browner around the edges. I am going to let these sit on the cookie sheet a little longer because I do want them to cook maybe a little bit more before I put them on the cooling rack. So because I want to get the next batch in the oven, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I am going to just put the cookie dough on the sheet. Yeah, that's the right length. So I'm just going to put the cookie dough on the sheet, and then later I'll transfer this to the cooling rack, and I'll transfer this to this cookie sheet. I'm assuming that not everyone has multiple cookie sheets like I do. Most people only have one, so I'm just going to use one right now. Okay. So this has been in the fridge and very firm. And I'm going to roll them up again.
Can I try one?
Do you think we should try it?
Mom?
It's still pretty hot.
Hey guys, look. 3 stuck together.
Oh, I think I put them too close, huh?
No, it's cool because we all get to eat one at one time.
Is that what that means?
Yep.
I really want to try it. I think I'm gonna.
It hurts, right?
It's stuck. Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh.
Ooh, should I have sprayed this?
Oh yes.
I didn't think I needed to spray it.
Guys, I guess we need to eat the plastic.
Maybe it's because they're underdone.
That's good. Dad, try a little piece.
I won't lie.
Well, they're really crumbly. Maybe it's too soon to eat it.
Wait, no.
I think I need to wait.
It's fine. It's like...
It tastes good, but I'm saying it's like falling apart. Here, eat this one if you're gonna eat one. It tastes like this spicy cake.
Look at that.
The next batch I'm gonna cook for 12 minutes instead of 11 minutes. And I think I'd better spray the cookie sheet. Yeah, I'd better spray the cookie sheet. Could you give me the pan? I'm gonna take my pan. You could use butter, you could use Crisco. I'm gonna use pan. I'm gonna spray the sheet so that they don't stick quite so much. But maybe when those cookies are fully cooled off, they'll probably come off easier. I might just be getting at them too early. But that's why you make big old batches of cookies, because you usually mess up the first batch. So that's fine. But Robert seems to really like it though, huh? Don't you?
Does it taste good?
Are you getting Robert in?
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't mind that he has to pick at it. You would eat it with a fork, wouldn't you?
I would eat it with anything.
Alright, I think after this, we will be able to get one more batch. Oh, maybe I should try to make a really big cookie. That could be fun. We can make a letter O, like a giant O for oatmeal.
Wait, Mom.
What?
But if you do that, there'll have to be a hole in it.
Yeah, that'll be fine. Ready to go back in oven. Okay, we're gonna cook these for 12 minutes. So I cooked the second batch for 12 minutes, and this is how they turned out. They look really good. They look great. The first batch, they are coming off of the parchment paper easier, so maybe the pan wasn't necessary. Maybe they just needed to cool longer and I was being impatient. I wasn't waiting. But we'll never know. So I went ahead and sprayed it with Pam, and I am going to cook it probably for 11 minutes, just because, no, I'll cook it for 12 minutes because I want to try to make a big O. So I get all the rest of my cookie dough. I'm gonna make a thick line. Because when it cooks, it will spread. So I want to make sure I've got a big space in here so it doesn't just turn into some wonky circle. I do want it to look like the letter O. I think that'll be really neat. When that cooks, the cookie dough will spread. So maybe the circle inside the O will probably be only this big. But that's cool, it'll still look like an O. So let's try putting that in the oven for 12 minutes and see what happens. Ready to see the O? Just as predicted, it did spread out so that the circle inside the O is a little bit smaller, but you can still definitely tell that it's the letter O. Our oatmeal cookies, we had some after they cooled down and they're pretty good. They are more oaty than other oatmeal cookies. There's a little bit of an oat bite. I think next time I make this, I would probably double the vanilla and the cinnamon. I think it could be a little spicier, but all in all, it's still really good. The texture is pretty good. It's like very soft and thick and sweet, a little spicy. Yeah, this is a pretty good cookie recipe. All right, we'll see you next week. Bye, Colts.